Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to our 22nd lesson of our simplified Tajweed series, which is a series of Tajweed lessons introduced by Quran University uniquely designed Quran learning management system with the purpose of introducing Tajweed in a modern and easy approach. Through this series of lessons, you will be introduced to Tajweed rules using a unique, modern and innovative approach to teach Tajweed that utilizes the color codes of Mushaf al-Tajweed as a common denominator that links those lessons to Tajweed rules. With such approach, we aim to make the understanding of Tajweed rules much easier and to practically help you to apply those rules while reading the Quran. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the natural, substitute, and exchange types of med. In our Quran learning management system, whether we're using the desktop version or the mobile version, in both cases, we use the Ottoman script of Medina Mus'haf with Tajweed color codes, which we call قواعد ألوان التجويد or Tajweed color legend, where every Tajweed rule is given a unique color code. In our previous lesson, which was an introduction to lengthening to med, we said that 4 of the Tajweed color legend, قواعد ألوان التجويد, are related to med. Now, if we take this red color, for example, like in هؤلاء, this a, or this orange color in al-waw of al-kafirun, then we realize that all these colors are types of secondary med. And we'll realize that the primary, the natural med, has no special color. In fact, only given the color black, like the e, fi is a natural med, and it's in black. There is no unique color identifying it. Similarly, if we look at its subsidiaries, the primary natural med subsidiaries, like the substitute med or exchange med, like in utu here, it's black. And like aminu, the a here is black. So in primary med or its subsidiaries, all, there is no special color that indicates them, meaning that any vowel that has a black color is to be lengthened naturally, given the natural lengthening, which is 2 units, and it belongs to primary types of med, and it is this primary natural med and its subsidiaries, the substitute and the exchange, all these represented in black, are the topic for our current lesson. But before we proceed with today's lesson, let's revise what we have learned in the previous introduction to med about the different types of vowel lengthening, different types of med. We've mentioned that there is a primary med, which is lengthened naturally for 2 units, and anything that is lengthened beyond 2 units is called secondary med. And we have mentioned that the primary med itself has similar meds that are associated with it. There is the exchange, substitute, and lesser connecting meds, 3 types of med in addition to the primary, while the secondary med is further classified under 2 categories based on what causes the lengthening beyond natural, where it can be caused either by a hamza or by a sukoon. Those that are due to hamzas are 3. They are the attached, separated, and greater connecting med. Those that are due to sukoon are basically the compulsory med, the incidental sukoon med, and the soft lean med. So we've learned that there are 9 types of med, and we learned also that some scholars would also add a 10th type, they call it the differentiation med, while other scholars consider this type as a subdivision of the compulsory med. So they are either 9 or 10 in total. And in the introduction of med, we also talked about the colors association for the different types of med, and we said that there are 4 colors given to the med among the 8 colors used in Tajweed color legend in Mushaf al-Tajweed. And yet we mentioned that the primary med and its associated exchange and substitute are not given any of these unique colors. It's given only the black color, which is the natural color given for the normal script, because the vowels in these types of meds are expected to be naturally lengthened, not more than the natural 2 units of any vowel. One more type of med is also associated with the primary. It is the lesser connecting because it is extended for the same period of the primary, which is 2 units. So if you see a vowel written in black or brown, you should elongate it for only 2 units. Now, anything other than that, these 3 colors would be secondary med. So whatever is due to hamza is given the mandatory elongation of 4 to 5 units and given this red color. And the incidental sukoon and its cousin, the soft lean, are given the orange color, which is expected to be lengthened for an average of 4 units, ranging from 2 to 6. Now, the Compulsory and differentiation are given the dark red, where it is compulsory to elongate those two types of meds for 6 units. Now, in this lesson, we're going to concentrate on the black, not on any of those colors. So we're going to concentrate on the primary natural med and its associated exchange and substitute. Both are given the natural color of the script, and they're expected not to be elongated more than 2 units. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about the definition of the natural med and its attached or associated substitute and exchange meds. We're going to learn the Tajweed rules for those three, the natural, the substitute, and the exchange meds. And we're going to take an example of each one of them, and we're going to practice what we have learned by extracting cases of natural med, substitute med, or exchange med from the Quran pages and apply Tajweed rules on them. We'll start by defining the natural med. The natural, sometimes called the original med, al-mad al-tabi'i, is called natural because every Arabic vowel has some minimal degree of lengthening as part of its natural characteristic as a vowel. A vowel is never a vowel if you don't extend it. You say ooh, there is some lengthening in the letter. Ah, there is some lengthening in the letter. E, there is some lengthening of the letter. But that lengthening is not to be extended beyond 2 units of time. Now, and this happens naturally if it is not followed by a hamza of sukoon. In the case of being followed by hamza of sukoon, the extension would be for a longer period of time beyond the 2 units. Instead of saying ah, we'll say ah. Instead of saying ooh, we'll say ooh. So extending beyond natural deviates us from the type of original or natural med to another type, which is not the topic of this lesson. Now let's illustrate that by an example. يقول, أول. أول has been extended for 2 units. The letter here did not have a hamza or sukoon after it. So the vowel, the waw, oo, did not have a hamza after it, nor a sukoon. And because of that, the Tajweed rule would be to extend this vowel, the waw here, for 2 units. We say يقول, يقول. And associated with the natural med, there are other types of med that are associated with the natural med because they are similar to the natural med since they share the same Tajweed rule, which is extending the vowel for 2 units. We have the exchange med, and we call it exchanged because when we have a hamza with a haraka, a, u, or e, followed by a hamza with sukoon, a, u, i, it is difficult to pronounce it, so the Arabs would exchange the second hamza, the hamza with sukoon, the second one, with a vowel, with a med letter. We say, instead of a, we say a. Instead of u, we say oo. Instead of I, we say e. So basically, the vowel that follows the hamza with sukoon follows the nature of the haraka of that. So when we have a fatha, it's followed by an a, a. When we have a dhamma, it's followed by a waw, oo. When we have a kasra, it's followed by an e. For that reason, we call it exchanged med, for exchanging the second hamza with a vowel. And it is associated with the natural med because it has the same Tajweed rule. And now let's take an example that will illustrate it. U-tu, we exchange the second hamza with a waw, it becomes u-tu, u-tu. So we write it as a hamza followed by a med letter, by a waw here, sometimes with a med sign, sometimes without it. And the hukum is we exchange the u-tu with a waw vowel, u-tu. So the second hamza is exchanged with a waw in this case, and that waw is to be lengthened for a duration of 2 units, similar to that of the natural original med. That's why we associate it with it. The second associated med with the natural is the substitute med, and the substitute med happens when we stop on a tanween with a fatha. The tanween would be substituted with a lengthened alif. We'll give an example. Aliman, there is a tanween on the alif here, and if this is at the end of a verse, when we stopped at the end, وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا, we say alima, and we don't say aliman. What we do here is, upon stopping at the tanween, which is at the end of a word, at the end of a verse, we substitute that tanween with a vowel, an alif, and we lengthen that alif. So aliman becomes alima. And the substituted alif is to be extended for 2 units only upon stopping on it. So if we don't stop, if we continue recitation without stopping, we keep the tanween. But when we stop, the substitution with an alif would take place. That alif is to be extended for 2 units. So we've realized that the natural med is to be extended for 2 units, and whatever we associate with it, whether the exchange med is extended for 2 units or the substitute med is also to be extended or lengthened for 2 units. In the coming few slides, we'll elaborate more on the natural med, giving more details on natural lengthening, al-mad al-tabi'i. Few slides ago, we said whenever we have a natural med, the Tajweed rule, the hukum, should be an extension or lengthening of the vowel of the med for 2 units. We're going here to add this particular add-on. We're going to say this rule applies in both cases, whether we are continuing the recitation or pausing the recitation upon that letter. To elaborate more about this, we're going to give some example. The natural med first exists in 2 situations. It can exist either in words or letters. The natural med in words is like in qalu, the qalu. Another example is the qalu. There are 2 med, 2 vowels within this word qalu, and both of them is to be extended for a natural 2 units, and that's why they are kept in the black color, not giving any unique color. And in this word nuhiha, we have the waw, nu, hi, and the ya, nuhiha. Both are examples of natural med in words, maddun kalimi, maddun tabi'iyun kalimi. Now, we can have the same natural med, instead of being in words, it can be in letters. And an example, in those surahs of Quran that starts with letters, if one of those letters grouped in hayyun tahur is found, then it should be pronounced as a vowel that follows it. For example, the ha would be ha. If we found the ya, we say ya, ta, ha, ra. So any of those letters would add an a vowel, and we're going to extend it for 2 units as a natural med. The example is in tasin. Now, if we look at the ta here, the ta is pronounced as if there is an a after it. Ta. Then we have the sin. So tasin. We notice that with the extension or the lengthening of the a of the ta is only for 2 units, but the sin is extended for longer than that. That's why it's given the red color here. So the natural med example for this is the ta. It's in a letter. Another example is when we have prepositions, ila, ala, fi. All those are examples of giving a natural med to those vowels in these letters, in these proposition letters. Now there are 3 types of med. The first, when we apply the med, the natural med, both in a continuation and a stopping status. No matter where the vowel is located in the word, can be in the middle, like in maliki, as in maliki, yawmiddin, or in yusikum, as in yusikumullah, yusikumullah, the waw here, and another vowel, the ya, in the same word, in the middle, or it can be at the end of the word, as in وضحاها والشمس وضحاها وأملي لهم, the end of the umli, the ya here, and whether the vowel is clearly scripted or deleted. In the case of vowels being scripted clearly is as in yusikum, we see the waw, we see the ya, and the vowels could be deleted and replaced with a small vowel. The example is maliki. We see that the maliki here, the a is not scripted. The meme comes directly with the lam, but there is a small a here added to it. So in both or all these cases, whether it's in the middle or the end of the word, or whether it is scripted or non-scripted, the med should be of natural, and as we see, all of those are given the black color except of the non-scripted ones. The vowel is presented with the small alif that is given a different color to remind us with it. The type 2 applies only upon stopping. So when stopping on a tanween, it should be exchanged with the alif. as in hudan, aman, du'aan, basiran. When we stop, we say huda, ama, du'a, basira. So if we stop on those, the tanween is exchanged with a mad. Also, when stopping on dhaqa, if it is a alif al-tathniya indicating a double, twins or two things, then that alif will be lengthened for 2 units. And the same thing applies when stopping on any other vowel. Aqsa, aqsa al-madinati. Join the two words, aqsa al-madinati, there we don't pronounce the mad. But if we stop at aqsa, then we pronounce the mad. Same thing is for muhilli as-sayd. If we stop on muhilli, then we pronounce the mad. وَلَا تَسُبُّ الَّذِينَ. If we stop at the waw, تَسُبُّ, وَلَا تَسُبُّ, then we pronounce the mad. So the mad in these cases are applied only upon pausing the recitation or stopping on the vowel of the mad. Now, the opposite is possible, where the mad, the natural mad, could happen only upon continuing the recitation rather than stopping it. And this happens when we have ha al-wasl, a pronoun ha. إِنَّ رَبَّهُ كَانَ بِهِ بَصِيرًا. رَبَّهُ, if إِنَّ رَبَّهُ كَانَ بِهِ بَصِيرًا. كَانَ بِهِ بَصِيرًا. Now, if we stop at رَبَّه, we say إِنَّ رَبَّه, then there is no mad. But if we continue the ha with the kana, we say رَبَّهُ كَانَ بِهِ بَصِيرًا. So in that case, the mad happens only upon continuation. So here at type 3, mad happens upon continuation, while in type 2 happens upon stopping, while type 1 happens in either continuation or in stopping status. We'll take an example here where we have an alif with sukoon preceded by a fatha, فطال. And let's study that example. فطال عليهم الأمد. فطال, there is an alif. After the alif there is no hamza, no sukoon. We've seen a letter with a fatha. And before the alif there is a fatha. فطال, فطال. We extend it for 2 units. We'll take another example for the ya. The ya is sakin in khamsina, preceded by a kasra. And fi yawmin. Fi, we can see that the ya is preceded by a letter with a kasra. And the ya itself is not followed by a sukoon, it's followed by a fatha. Yawmin has a fatha, and it's not followed by a hamza. The letter is a ya. So in that case, we extend this ya. Fi yawmin, fi yawmin. We lengthen the pronunciation of the ya vowel for 2 units. And that's an example of natural mad. Another example related to the waw. The waw here is having yaqul, sukoon, preceded by a letter with a dhamma, the qaf. And as we see, the qaf has a dhamma. The waw is followed by a letter not with sukoon. The lam here is with dhamma, and it's not hamza. The lam is not a hamza. So the rule applies, so we can say yaqul, yaqul. We lengthen the waw for 2 units. Now we're going to practice extracting the natural mad elongation from these shaded verses of the Quran. We'll find that the first one here is wattaqu. The waw here preceded by a dhamma, not followed by a hamza or a sukoon. So the rule is to extend the waw for 2 units as a natural mad. Wattaqu. Another example is qal. Qaf is with a fatha preceding the alif. So the alif here is preceded by a fatha, not followed by a hamza or sukoon, so we can extend it. Qawmi. Here the waw is a lean letter, not a mad, and because it has sukoon and it's preceded by a fatha, qawmi, not followed by a sukoon or a hamza. So the rule for the waw here is to extend it naturally for 2 units. Qawmi. Now we're going to take some examples of the exchanged med. And let's refresh our memory quickly with the definition of the exchanged med. We said that the exchanged med happens when the hamza with a haraka is followed by a hamza with sukun. A hamza with a fatha is followed by a hamza with sukun. A hamza with a dhamma followed by a hamza with sukun. A hamza with a kasra followed again by a hamza with sukun. In this case, the second hamza, the one with sukun, would be exchanged by a vowel, a med letter, matching the haraka of the first hamza. So if it was a fatha, it will be replaced with an a. If it is a dhamma, it will be replaced with an u. If it is a kasra, it will be replaced with an e. And sometimes we express that added vowel with a med sign on top of it, and sometimes without. Let's take examples and illustrate this. A'dam is converted into Adam. And we realize here that the second hamza, the one with the sukun, has been exchanged with a med that is matching the haraka of the first hamza. So the first hamza was with a fatha, so the med letter is an a. Sometimes we take those two alif and a and convert them into one with a med sign as we have described here. And that especially in the case of the alif. As we see here, this a with a madda sign. Second example is related to the dhamma and waw. U-tu. Second hamza is exchanged with a waw. So u-tu becomes u-tu, where the waw matches the dhamma of the first hamza. U-tu becomes u-tu. Third example is i'man becomes iman. The ya replaces the second hamza, matching the kasra of the first hamza. So Adam becomes Adam with a madda sign. U'tu becomes Utu with a waw. And Iman becomes Iman with a ya. Now the rule is these exchanged vowels, the a, u, and e, should be given med, lengthening, for 2 units. Now let's look at all these examples one by one. Amanu, alif with sukun, was originally a'manu, where the second hamza has been exchanged with an a because of the fatha on the first hamza. So the exchanged med rules apply, and we lengthen this second a into amanu. Second example, ya with sukun. The second hamza has been exchanged with a ya because of the kasra on the first hamza, and it should be extended for 2 units. Imana. Imana. The third is an example of a waw with sukun. Utu was originally u'tu, and the second hamza has been exchanged with a waw because of the dhamma on the first hamza to become utu, and should be lengthened for 2 units. Utu. Now let's practice extracting the exchanged med from these shaded verses of the Quran. Utu. Both waws here are to be extended for 2 units because they are a substitute med, and they are given the color black because substitute med is associated with natural med. Second finding is amanu, extending the a for 2 units. Now let's take more examples on the substitute med. Let's recall again the substitute med definition. We said that upon stopping on a tanween with a fatha, that tanween should be substituted with an alif that should be lengthened. Examples will illustrate that. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا. When we stop, we say وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمًا. So if we look at the word عَلِيمًا, this word has a tanween at the end of it on the top of an alif. The Tajweed rule here would be is to substitute that tanween with an a. Instead of عَلِيمًا, we say عَلِيمًا. The tanween is substituted with a lengthened alif. So that alif is to be lengthened for a duration of 2 units, but only upon stopping on it. So if we don't stop on it, we continue pronouncing it with a tanween. Let's illustrate this with more examples. We've mentioned aliman, where we said that the tanween on aliman is practically pronounced with a noon after the meme. Aliman. But in case of stopping on that aliman, it's pronounced as alima. The second example is kathiran. Kathiran is a alif with a tanween, pronounced as if there's a noon at the end, kathiran. But when we stop on it, we will say كثيرا. Last example is رشدا, where we have a tanween after the dal. The tanween adds a noon after the dal to be pronounced رشدا, and upon stopping on that tanween, instead of saying رشدا, we say رشدا, رشدا. Now let's practice extracting the substitute med from the shaded verses of the Quran. The first one we find is زنجبيلا. If we say كان مزاجها زنجبيلا عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون. So in case we don't stop between the verses, then we pronounce the tanween. But if we stopped at the end of each verse, then those tanweens would be substituted by mad vowels, extended or lengthened alifs. كان مزاجها زنجبيلا. We substitute the tanween here with an alif. Similarly, عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا. We replace the tanween with an alif, or substitute it with an alif. لؤلؤا منثورا. The tanween of the after the ra is substituted with a lengthened alif. ملكا كبيرا. The tanween here is also substituted with an alif that is to be lengthened for 2 units. And again we see that it has no special color, only the color black, the normal color of the script, since the substitute med is associated with the natural med, and both are given the color black because they're not extended more than 2 units. Please note that the pronunciation of the substitute med is different from the way we write it. Upon stopping on a tanween with a fatha, we apply the substitute med only upon pronunciation, but not in writing. This example will illustrate that. The tanween on insha'an here, if we stop on insha'a, we will pronounce it as insha'a, but we keep it written as insha'an with a tanween on it, as we see. And before conclusion, we'll give an exception for the substitute med, and that is related for the case when the tanween is on a feminine ta'nith. Let's take an example. When we have shajaratan, if we stop on shajaratan, we don't say shajara, we say shajarah, shajarah, ha with sukoon rather than an alif with a med, with a lengthening of 2 units. Another example, if we stop on jannatan, we say jannah, not jannah. So the tanween, when it is on a ta'nith, on a ta related to a feminine name, then it is not converted into alif that should be lengthened, but is converted into a still ha with sukoon. And in that case, there will be no lengthening. In this lesson, we have learned the applied tajweed definitions for natural med, exchanged med, and substitute med. And then we have learned the tajweed rules related to each of those types, and we've taken example on each. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that بعونه وقدرته, that the Quran learning management system, برنامج الجامع لحفظة كتاب الله, would help you, inshallah, to improve your tajweed and improve your tilawa and help you in improving your recitation and help you, if you want, in memorizing the Quran and to help you understand the Quran in the proper way. As we reach the end, we ask Al-Mawla Azza wa Jal أن يتقبل منا هذا العمل. We ask Allah Almighty to accept this work from us, and we ask you to make dua for those who participated in making this work come to life and reach you. Hoping you all the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.